All right, everyone, what I got for you today is we're going to be going over some stuff in regards to the differences between red meat and a couple common red meats, and also some common chickens that you'd see a lot of people eat when they're dieting and different things like that. Now, the things that we're going to be going over here, so we have everything's been standardized down to 1 ounce of cooked weight, okay? So the first one we're going to look at here is we're going to be looking over skirt steak, sirloin steak, 93.8 ground beef, so like your standard ground beef patty, bison, chicken breast oven roasted, chicken thigh, and chicken drumstick. So some of the standard things that you see people have in their meals when they're dieting or when they're just trying to eat a little bit better. So first thing we're going to look at here is we have our skirt steak. We have 76 calories, 81 grams of protein. We have 0 carbs, 4.6 grams of fat, only 20 milligrams of sodium. We got a decent amount of magnesium here, 7.4 milligrams, a little bit of potassium, 80 milligrams, cholesterol, about 28 milligrams. It's a little bit higher in the cholesterol, but it's realistically not too bad. Calcium is about 2.3 milligrams, iron 1.5, phosphorus 55.8. We have zinc at a whopping 2.1 milligrams, which is a 19% of your daily recommended dose. Now, if any of you guys have known anything about immune system function and all these different things, zinc's important. You see, we supplement with zinc. Realistically, if you look at it, that's a pretty high zinc concentration for 1 ounce of skirt steak, okay? Now we got B12, 2.1 micrograms. That's also pretty high. That's about 89% of your daily recommended dose right there of B12 in just 1 ounce of skirt steak. So we got 0.2 milligrams B2, it's riboflavin, which is about 19%. So realistically, this first one here, and I actually eat quite a bit of skirt steak, and if you look at it here, outside of the slightly little bit higher cholesterol, this is a pretty good nutrient profile. You even look here and we have 55.8 milligrams of phosphorus. Your iron's pretty high. Women, ladies, if you have any type of anemia, if you are cold all the time, if you have bad circulation, this is going to be for you, just because the fact is, best bang for buck, your iron, and you'll see later on, our other ones don't nearly have as high of a concentration of iron, even our ground beef and our sirloin. So this skirt steak here is actually pretty high in iron at about 9% your recommended daily dose here. So you're getting 1.5 milligrams per ounce, which is a pretty good bang for your buck here. Next one, we have sirloin. I was honestly pretty disappointed in what sirloin came out to be. Realistically, the calories are pretty low. It's about 37 calories per ounce. Protein was about 6.4 grams. There's a little bit of carbs, which is kind of strange to me, which is 0.3 grams per ounce. Fats are a little bit lower than skirt steak was at 1.2. Sodium's a little higher. Also, it kind of had a pretty crappy nutrient profile. It couldn't have realistically, magnesium, potassium, phosphorus, zinc, B12, and B2 also were not found in high enough concentrations to be even measurable in 1 ounce of sirloin. And I checked the other ones as well, and it's still immeasurable. So based on what I checked on a couple different things, sirloin's nutrient profile is actually kind of crappy realistically. I'm going to have to dive a little bit more into that later on and do some more research to maybe find out why. But sirloin's not going to hit your magnesium, potassium, phosphorus, and zinc, B12 and B2 for the day. So nutrient profile wise, it's actually kind of weak, especially for what you're paying. Next one we're going to have here is we got our 93.8 ground beef. Got about 55 calories per ounce, 7.4 grams of protein per ounce, 0 carbs, 2.5 grams of fat per ounce. Sodium's not too bad. Now, this is all before your seasonings and before you're adding everything in, mind you. So how you cook things and how you season things also matters and affects some of the stuff as well. But this is just your bare basics here. This is kind of what we're realistically looking at when we're picking meat selections. What we got here, still on ground beef, we have magnesiums at about 6.2 milligrams, which is a little bit lower than the skirt steak. 97 milligrams of potassium, higher than the skirt steak. Let me see. Cholesterol, a little bit lower, 24.9, about 8%. Calcium's higher. We got 2.6 milligrams. Iron's a little bit lower in these ones, so it still seems that skirt steak was the highest out of all of them. We have about 0.8 milligrams per ounce, which is kind of low. But all the red meats in relation to the actual chicken, the iron's almost significantly higher. Like if you look down here at your chicken breast, where we'll see it's like 0.1 milligrams, chicken thigh 0.3 milligrams, 0.3 milligrams chicken drumstick. It's kind of weak. So if you have any type of anemia or if you have any type of iron deficiency, you're most likely going to need to either one, supplement with iron, or two, you're going to need to add this red meat into your diet, because realistically you won't feel very good if your iron's very low. Iron's a very big building block for a lot of things, including red blood cells. So circulation and how you breathe and how you move and how you feel energy-wise can relate to your iron levels. Ladies, also, when it comes to around the time of the month, you need to be increasing your iron levels, because you're also partitioning with that iron through your period as well. So this is something you can actually combat a little bit coming up to your period. Coming up to that time of the month, you can actually add some extra red meat in the week before to help kind of combat potentially some of the menstrual symptoms from the following week. This is what I would do realistically if I had to think of it logically. Okay. Now, it doesn't all work perfectly, but these are just, like I said, just some things that you can throw in there if you in fact struggle with some of these things. Okay. So we're going to throw on back to ground beef here. We got a little sidetracked on the iron, but phosphorus wise, it's actually pretty decent. We got 58 milligrams per ounce. Zinc is pretty high here. Zinc is still pretty high. We got about 1.8 milligrams per ounce, which is about 17%, which is kind of second in the running out of all of them here in zinc concentration, which is a good thing. Now you kind of know even if you supplement with zinc or something like that and you struggle with immune function, some of these things are things that you can add in realistically to start increasing some of these levels and actually help support your immune system just through what you're standard eating, just by a simple shift of what it actually is. We got B12 here, about 0.7 micrograms. It's kind of weak a little bit. It's pretty low. Skirt steak was still insanely high with 2.1 micrograms at 89%. So look here, we're going to move on. Next, we got Bison. Okay, so Bison's becoming a very, very more popular thing now. So Bison, we got 67 calories per ounce. It's about 6.7 grams of protein, so it's going to be a little less protein. Your Bison's going to run a little more neck and neck with, I would say it's going to be just slightly a little higher than what your chickens are, but it's going to fall about in line with about the same amount per ounce that your chicken does. And it's just because realistically, I think it is just a little bit leaner. So we're going to look here. We got about 4.3 grams of fat in your standard Bison. So it is actually got a little bit more fat in it. So I bite my tongue there. Sodium's pretty low. We have about 21 milligrams. Magnesium, 6.2 milligrams. Potassium, 96.7 milligrams. Cholesterol, these are all kind of running in the thing in about neck and neck here within a couple milligrams, honestly. We have anything ranging from 20 to about 29. Look down here, we're going to see calcium. 3.7 milligrams in Bison. So Bison's actually pretty high in calcium, I would say. Sirloin is the king of calcium here with a 6.8 milligram, but realistically, it's kind of I think there are other things you could do to get your calcium in the day. Bison, we got 0.9 milligrams, about 5%. So not horrible, not great. Little higher than the ground beef. Still overranking the chicken in the iron category. Phosphorus wise, we got about 58.1, about the same as ground beef. So you'll see some of these have very similar, very, very similar percentages in them because they are still in fact red meat and they will have some similar characteristics along them. But then you also see in some of the other concentrations, some of the minerals and some other things, these things get shifted just based on what part of the cow it actually is from or what part of the animal it's from. This is where we start kind of seeing where we pick where some of our nutrients come from. Bison, second highest in B12. We got 0.6 micrograms, about 27%, which is pretty decent, I would say. All right, we're gonna move on to oven roasted chicken breast, the bodybuilder's delight. We have 22 cals per ounce. So that's the all-time low on the scale of calories per ounce. We have proteins at 4.8, carbs 0.6, which I'm still trying to understand where the heck you're squeezing carbs into chicken, but we're gonna see 0.1 grams of fat, which is the all-time low out of all of them. 308 milligrams of sodium. Pretty absurd there. Magnesium, 2.6 milligrams, it's kind of the all-time low in the magnesium category of all of them here, though, your chicken breast. We have 19 milligrams of potassium, another all-time low. Cholesterol, the low one, we got 10.2 milligrams. Calcium, another low. So realistically, across the board, the only thing that the chicken breast is really, really high in is actually sodium. You're going to have to eat a significant amount more chicken breast to get to your numbers. May just not be the best pick for you. I ate chicken breast for years and I just struggled with digestive issues and not being able to stomach the stuff, and I just got tired of it, honestly. Not saying you don't need to eat chicken, but realistically, if you've been doing chicken and you feel like it's really not working so well, it might be why that chicken breast, honestly, the nutrient profile across the board is kind of weak on it. You're going to be needing to supplement a lot of other things if you're solely just eating chicken breast. If you're not, I bet you're probably feeling kind of crappy. Next one we got here, chicken thigh, 66 calories per ounce. Protein, we got 6.6 grams. Not too bad. It's not horrible. Same as the chicken drumstick. Probably very similar part. We're just a little lower on calories here. Fats, 4.2 grams, 29 milligrams of sodium. Low sodium. Okay. Magnesium, 6.2. So your chicken, your bison chicken, most of these across the board were pretty much about the same on the magnesium spectrum, except skirt steak was the highest and chicken was the lowest. So the rest of them were sitting about 6.2 milligrams, right about that 1% there. 7.4 on the skirt, which is pretty high, which is kind of nice. A little bit magnesium, a little more magnesium actually, better for the heart, in my opinion, just better for a lot of different things. Okay, chicken thigh, highest cholesterol out of all of them here. We had 37.7 milligrams, with about 13% cholesterol on 1 ounce. Calcium, about middle of the road, 2.6 milligrams. Phosphorus, 61.2. Iron's a pretty low, 0.3. Same with the chicken drumstick, 0.3 iron. Kind of low there. Not horrible, but really not going to be your most amazing iron source. Like I said, if you're primarily living off chicken, and especially if you're a female, you're probably going to add some type of iron supplement in, or you're in fact going to need to add some more red meat into your life. We're going to move on here. About low. Most of these are pretty low in the B12 and B6 category. The chickens realistically didn't see a whole ton of B vitamins in them. B vitamin and zinc were kind of weak in these. We see the chicken drumstick actually has a pretty higher zinc content, just slightly a little bit. The chicken thigh was 0.5, chicken drumstick was 0.7 at about 6% there. Your chicken drumstick, a little lower calorie content here. The protein was about the same, fat was a little bit lower, cholesterol was a little bit higher. We had about 35 milligrams. Magnesium, 6.2, calcium, 3.1. So calcium on the chicken drumstick was actually a little bit higher there. And I'll do my best to post this chart. Like I said, these things are going to sway, are going to vary based on where it's coming from realistically and where you're researching and all different things. It's going to sway a little bit because all cows and all chickens are not equal. But at the same here, we're going to move on. Realistically, the big thing that I want everyone to kind of see is when we're looking at nutrient profiles in regards to sodium, magnesium, potassium, cholesterol, calcium, iron, phosphorus, and zinc, for building kind of some of these better profiles in how your body works and how your body functions and where you're getting these nutrients from, it becomes a little important. So living off of chicken realistically is going to kind of cut you short on your minerals and some of the other good aminos and some of the other nutrients that you realistically need. Low fat is not necessarily the best and optimum way to go. Some people's bodies function very well on red meat and high fat, and their body functions very fine. Their blood cholesterol is perfectly great and everything along those lines. Like I said, all cholesterol is not equal either. If I was gonna pick best bang for your buck here, I'd probably still fall down to, I was going to pick two. I'd probably, if I had to switch between them, it would be the skirt steak and the chicken thigh. I don't really eat too much chicken anymore just because I've kind of lost the taste for it. But if I had to pick two, bison and ground beef, I would say, are kind of neck and neck in there. Sirloin's a pretty weak choice for what you're actually looking to do and what you're actually going to probably pay for the sirloin. It probably tastes a lot better realistically. But if you're looking at it nutrient profile wise across the board with magnesium, potassium, phosphorus, and zinc, it's very, very low. But we also see here in a lot of the red meats, one thing I want to be very clear here is I do believe that people who eat substantially more red meat get sick a lot less often. And I believe it is one primarily thing here because of this zinc concentration that we see in a lot higher percentages, where we have our red meats here, which are at 13, 17, and 19% per ounce, whereas your chickens are at like 1, 4, and 6. You have to eat double the amount of the chicken most of the time in a lot of these categories to equal the same ounce amount of what we're seeing in our red meats. This is just realistically what I see. Best bang for your buck, you might be just doing a better job with your red meats. And I'm not saying to don't eat chicken, but we're talking straight nutrient profile here. This is just looking at what the numbers and what the concentrations are and how much you're in fact going to need to eat of those things to actually get to your recommended daily stuff. All right, guys, this is just a little comparison of your meats, your chickens, your red stuff, red meats, all of it together. This is always something that interested me, but even just some little tweaks like this can really shift around your diet, and it can actually really shift around your lifestyle and how you physically feel. But that's all we got for today. If you have any questions, don't be afraid to ask.